That building there brought back a lot of memories. Well, it's been a long day and I have been buying things again. I'm going to have to stop buying things. But when I bought the TomTom Camper Max, whatever it is, as I was driving down here to Minehead, I actually had problems. It just kept switching off. Every 30 seconds the screen would go black, it would then restart, and then it would begin to reload, and it would tell me all the start information again, like you'll arrive at your destination at this time. I'd drive for another 30, 40, 50 seconds, the screen would go black again, and this went on for about an hour, and eventually I ended up switching it off and taking it off the windscreen because it was driving me mad, and reverted back to using, I think it was Apple Maps just on the screen in the car. So I decided to buy another new GPS because I've only had that one for about 3 weeks. I'm going to take it back to Argos because it's obviously faulty. So I've gone for the Garmin Camper 795. It does the same kind of thing. And I've only tested it very briefly from driving up from Newton Abbot back up to here. Picked it up today from Halfords, actually, this. I think it was 300 and something pounds, maybe 399. Don't know. It's more expensive anyway than the TomTom one. But the bottom line is, if it works, it's worth having. If it doesn't work, like the TomTom, that was just a complete waste of time. Really, really was. Very disappointed with that. I mean, when it was working, it was great. And then suddenly it stopped working. What can you do with something like that? Absolutely nothing apart from return it. Well, if you have a caravan or if you go away, you've got a motorhome, camper van, whatever, you know just how important it is for the weather to be really good, to have a really good time on holiday. It doesn't matter if there's the odd day here and there where it rains, but as long as most of the time when you're in late spring or through the summer, you get good weather, makes all the difference. And unfortunately for me this week, I've looked at the forecast and seen that out of the 9 nights I'm going to be staying here in Minehead, actually 5 of those days are going to be raining, which is not good. I'm hoping the forecast gets better, but today has been wet and damp and overcast all day, and it's rained much of the time, and also through the night it rained. And looking at the forecast there, it's looking like it's going to rain for another 4 days of the 6 days that I've got left. So yes, it can be a pain when the weather isn't looking after you as it should. I'm thinking I might have a trip on to Dunster Castle, which is a place I've not been since the age of 5. So that's a fair few years ago, and I want to see what it's like these days. So, next stop, Dunster Castle. So we're heading up to Dunster Castle to pay my £18. And there it is. I don't know if you can see it, just tucked into the hillside there. As we drive up this long and winding road to the car park, and it looks very busy here. Dunster Castle and Gardens. This is a pay and display car park, £6.50. Wow, so I've got to pay for parking and the entrance fee. Wow, wow, wow. Well, it's still very busy. It's a bit windy, just breezy just down this driveway, but it's about 2:30 in the afternoon here at Dunster Castle, and lots and lots of people, and lots of people seem to be National Trust members as well, from just a bit of a chat with people. I'm not a member. I did have a look at the lifetime membership, and it's something like £2,000 plus to be a lifetime member. And I thought, there's either that or £8 a month, and I decided not to. The gate to the castle.
Facilities manager. It happens quite often with trust places that don't have people who live on site as keepers. They're around should anything happen during the night. Ah, see, no worries. I know.
And I was just checking out with them there whether you could get to a point which I'm not sure where it is as part of the castle structure, but when I was a kid I walked down like this spiral staircase, I remember it vividly, and at the bottom you could kind of look out, but just look at those amazing views as I turn around here. You can see out to the ocean back there. It is just fantastic. Let me show you properly. I mean, that is just some spectacular view, and the castle is here, or the sort of castellated house is here. And you can just see right down the coast there what you can see on camera, but the ocean is out there, and then the rolling hills. What a beautiful view that is. I'll just leave you watching that for a little while, listening to the bird song. Well, it's probably hard to tell on the camera, but this is quite a steep climb up and around the side here of the castle. And again, rich green all around. Blue skies, sunshine. Really feels today like being in the Mediterranean here. And such spectacular views. People who originally had this castle definitely had somewhere special to live. So I'm not sure here where that part of the building is that I do distinctly remember wandering down. And the story, and this is something I remember quite vividly, is walking down the spiral staircase of that turret or tower, getting to the very bottom and looking through a keyhole, and then an eye appearing at the other side of the keyhole, looking the other way. Never knew who that was, but at this stage I was only like 5 or 6 years old. But it's still to this day, kind of 50 years later, is something that stuck in my mind and kind of made me think I wanted to come back again and try to find that little turret and see what happened this time. But having spoken to the curator or one of the members of staff here, he said that they don't have access to that area anymore. These are the stairs back down to somewhere, but again, such beautiful peaceful countryside here. And there's all the sort of native trees and bushes, and then suddenly you see these like palm trees that grow so well down here because of the sort of temperate climate that allows them to thrive. And they just sort of sit in and amongst the ivy and the lavender. It is expensive to come here for what is here, but it's very rare, even if you live in the countryside, that you get to see what just seems like such pristine views and rich green. Maybe the rain the last day or so's perked everything up, but so I sort of feel like I'm back where I started here now. So I think we should go and see if there's a shop and what they're selling in the shop. Maybe grab a coffee. More of a view there out to the ocean. Little bird down there, just staying in the shade, hiding out the way. And it's sort of amusing that when I said to the staff the last time I was here was 50 years ago, and they didn't seem to blink an eyelid. I don't know if many of their visitors have been here. Only twice, probably in their lifetimes. With 50 years apart. Now look at that tree. That is a spectacular looking tree. Huge. I don't know what type of tree that is. Is it an oak? Look at the roots on that. Right deep into the ground. All the way along there. Look at that beast of a tree. So we're going to go down now to the area that has the water mill. And I can't remember if I went to the water mill when I was here 50 years ago. So just taking a look while we're walking down here at the prices then. So here's the website with all of the prices on. I think you don't pay anything maybe if you're a member of the National Trust. Perhaps that's how that works. But looking at the lifetime membership fee, that is quite significant. I suppose if you were really into these old buildings and places and were visiting, 10 times a year or something, it might be worth doing, but over £2,000 for one person for a lifetime membership. You really have to be very, very keen. So we're slowly making our way down to the water mill. These nice fuchsias that are on there's a holly bush there, ivy on the ground, and fuchsia in the air. Let's have a look at the Pixie Well. This ancient well sits on a natural spring, and from the stonework it is believed to date back to the 13th century. Look closely at the stonework and you can see two different styles. The upper section is a later addition in keeping with the picturesque movement of the 1700s. The entrance and low wall opposite was an add-on from the early 1900s. The old ironwork to hang a gate still remains. If these old walls could talk, they could tell a fascinating history. So I'm guessing that's the old ironwork there. And then in here must be the Pixie Well. With people throwing their money in there. Well, that was that. Lots of nature little... Is that little robin there? I think it might be. It's very tame. Sat there on the edge. Hello. And look at that pine tree. That is huge. It probably doesn't look so big there on this wide angle camera, but that is an absolutely stonking pine tree. The sort of pine tree that Bob Ross would be painting. That is one huge tree. The gardens around Dunster Castle have so many different paths going in different directions that it's so easy to get lost. Now they do provide a little map when you pay your entry fee, and occasionally I keep taking that little map out and trying to sort of orientate myself, but it's sort of difficult to even work out where you are because everything looks on these paths apart from the odd sign, and now we've got one saying that the watermill is in 150 yards, so we do now know where we're going. Another big pine tree at the end of here, as you can see. Let's go and have a listen to the river. So definitely lots of nature, lots of greenery, just an amazing place to be. Very peaceful, very secluded and quiet. It just has all the makings of the sort of place to come, almost like a kind of meditation space. And the sounds of the river, the bird song, and the clean air around here is just amazing. Looks like there are two wheels there, not currently moving. I would say if you haven't been here, actually I do think, particularly if you want to spend quite a big chunk of the day it is worth paying the entry fee, because watching it on this video is not going to give you some of the sort of sensations quite the same as being here.
I just saw it on the top.
When these things were around, of course, they had a practical purpose, and that's why you see all the flour there from the past. Presumably that was a working mill. Don't know if that flour is actually ground there anymore. I managed to get myself a nice can of refreshing Sicilian lemonade. Tomorrow I will be cycling probably just down into Minehead and have a look around there. But it has been like an interesting, just kind of brain-free experience. Particularly here in the gardens. I would say the gardens are probably more impressive than the house itself as the castle itself. Especially now that some aspects of the castle that used to be available many years ago seem to not be available now. But the gardens are spectacular. Just some of these trees that have been here so long. So now we're visiting the historic village of Dunster near Minehead in the southwest of England. Here we are. Now this does start to bring back some memories. Being here 50 years ago. Oh yes, it does bring back memories. Wow. I distinctly remember at the top of this little walkway up here that, I'm not sure what you would call it, but just at the top of this street there's like a sort of a building with open sides. And I remember back then, even to this day, that I think my mum or my dad went into a local shop just behind that, to the left of that building, to buy some camera film in those days, to take some photographs, and I've no idea now where those photographs will be, but we will have a little look around. See what's what.
Excuse me, would you not walk around with that? That's really kind, I'd appreciate it.
I don't have to, no. I can. You want me to switch it off?
Yeah.
So going into that shop that I started to film, I was asked to stop filming. So of course I did stop filming straight away, but I thought that was a bit of an unusual thing. And this is something that I was last in 50 years ago. I remember sitting on one of these little walls. It was busier then on that day. But the shop that was just there used to process Kodak film. I remember that. I remember my dad or my mum going into there to buy some replacement film back when Kodak was a thing. It's amazing to just be back here after all this time. That's the end of my little video here in Dunster and visiting Dunster Castle on a sunny day in May 2025. I'm remembering back what it was like to be here all those years ago. It's amazing, really. That building there brought back a lot of memories of back then. The castle not so much, but that definitely. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Do take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.